Welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. Welcome to the extra time for Brentford 1, Everton 3. Everton finally giving us a win to discuss in these extra time shows. First league win of the campaign at the sixth time of asking. Finally off and running. And it was in a much more stylish manner than a lot of us probably would have expected, given that Brentford finished above us last year. They've been just generally better performers than we have over the last 2 years. So the fact that we've managed to go there and win in a decent manner is very refreshing. I mean, I couldn't believe my eyes. I didn't pay a blind bit of notice originally to the game on Saturday. I was happily very busy all day Saturday and got home about 10:30 at night and was gobsmacked by the scoreline. So, and then I watched it all back the next day. And did so with relish. What about you guys? Anyone go down there or down to Brentford or?
Yeah, I was lucky enough to be in the away end, and honestly,
Right.
that performance, everything about it, the atmosphere, just honestly, it was one of the best days, other than Brighton this year. It was one of the best aways I've done in so long. It was actually so refreshing to see. As you said before, the first five games they weren't really up to the standard that we wanted them, but we looked like a different side, and I think Sean Dyche set us up really, really well.
Yeah, a lot of fans didn't receive the team news very well. Apparently, like I say, I was quite in another world on Saturday. I had a lot of stuff on, but I didn't. I wasn't there for the apparent Twitter meltdown that happened, and apparently everyone was quite upset with the starting lineup that Dyche put out. And there was a lot of the usual pre-match negativity coming from the team
Mhm.
news, and
Yeah, I
um,
wasn't. I wasn't. Obviously, but I wasn't melting down on Twitter, but I was sort of quietly complaining about it, just because, again, with the five midfielders and Garner at right midfield and Mikalenko back starting, and people being shouting out for Beto and Calvert-Lewin up front together. But do you know what I mean? The proof's in the pudding. It worked, so you can't really complain. But the team news it wasn't received well at all. But thankfully, we ended up getting the result either way.
I
yeah,
agree
so
with that. I think that I was negative about the team news at first because, as you said there, seeing James Garner at right mid, it's one of them where we've seen it not work in the first five games, so you don't have any other option but to be negative. But I think that the way he imposed himself in that first 10 minutes, James Garner, I think it's every credit to Sean Dyche the way he deployed him. I think it's every credit to the way he deployed the midfield as well. So we have to give him credit where credit's due.
I know he mentioned as well. There was a quote I saw. I think it was yesterday about how obviously he dropped Garner against Arsenal, and he mentioned about how he thinks that did improve his performance on Saturday, and obviously him taking it in his stride and how positive he was with it, which is always good because I think we sort of expected him to be like that anyway. But it's nice to see a player get dropped and they come back and they look at things differently, even playing out of position. So special shout out to him on Saturday because his attitude and the way he played and some of the crosses he was getting into the box as well. Really impressed with him.
I think that's why he's been used as the right mid a lot, hasn't he? Because he has got a good service and he can put a good cross in. But interestingly enough, towards the end of the game, obviously we saw it with Calvert-Lewin's head. He did swap them over. Garner was cutting in off the left, and he had McNeil cutting in off the right, which I wasn't thrilled about when I saw that because I thought I don't really usually like seeing McNeil on the right. I think he's way better on the left, but it seems to benefit Garner being able to cut in.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
so.
with
Yeah.
McNeil, yeah. I think McNeil, I think we're now seeing a player that can play either side, and I think he's really growing into the Everton squad. And for me, he's the most valuable depth option we've got because he's one of those players that can whip in a wicked cross, and other players feed off him so well. You look at Mikalenko playing behind him on that left hand side in the first half of the game. Mikalenko, I thought had a fantastic game because I think he felt confident with McNeil ahead of him, and as well playing on that right hand side. I think Ashley Young being on the booking, what was it, 5-10 minutes into the game, I think that was probably a wise decision for Sean Dyche to put McNeil on that right hand side in the second half because players probably feel so much more comfortable in defence because he is that tenacious. He's always in the tackle. He's always there around about. As you say, he's a hard worker. So I think players probably feel a little bit of a degree of confidence having him in front of them rather than having him on the other side. So I think it was again probably a little bit of I don't want to say a stroke of genius by Sean Dyche, but it was definitely a smart way to get a little bit more defensive solidity in the game.
Yeah, what I will say is, you mentioned Mikalenko's performance, Lifton. I think I'm been a big defender of Mikalenko over the last year or so when those performances were dipping, and I was saying that I don't think that there were many fullbacks who could play well with Damari Gray in front of them. I don't think Damari Gray has a good link up with any of our fullbacks. I don't think he ever you recall that obviously not on this level like Baines and Pienaar, the sort of telepathy they almost had. I don't think Damari Gray never seemed to click with anyone who played behind him. And I feel like that was stifling Mikalenko a little bit. I feel when McNeil plays there, like obviously you've got a bit more of a bona fide winger, and he grafts, and Mikalenko, I think, has a bit more confidence when the right player is in front of him. I think prior to that, it was obviously Richarlison, who was an excellent player, and that no doubt brought a lot out of Mikalenko as well. I think it depends on the standard of the player. I think that just gives him a bit more belief in what he can do.
I think it's sort of it's underestimated by a lot of supporters how important it is as a fullback who's playing in front of you. And I think now, after Saturday, you can sort of see a little bit why he does persist with Garner at right midfield, because his defensive qualities are good and he's good at getting the ball in the box. Obviously, he's not a classic winger. He's a midfielder at heart, but having him there in the first half, it was pretty good with Ashley Young being on that booking. But then also in the second half, I think we saw the best of Mikalenko in the second half. And I think having him in front out there when they swapped the wingers over, that definitely helped Mikalenko. But a word on McNeil, I do agree. 100% I'd start him on the left over the right, but having he was capable of moving over to the right, especially when we went 3-1 up. His play on the ball, he's so smart in trying to defend the lead. The work he was still putting in after 80, 85 minutes. Was such a better team without him. Like, it can't be underestimated how well he's performed.
Missed him so much in first games.
No, massively, yeah, massively missed him. I think as well, he brings confidence to other players on the team. I know you touched on it there. It's all about a confidence thing for Mikalenko. I think he brings confidence to the attackers as well. You look at Beto. I know he was unlucky not to get that goal with that chipped effort, but Calvert-Lewin, Dan Juma, when he came on, they all look more confident with McNeil because it takes a weight off their shoulders. You look back to the Doncaster game, the Wolves game, the Fulham game. It was almost like they had a burden on them because they had to run, they had to do a defensive job, they had to do an attacking job. Whereas McNeil, he kind of covers both bases for them, so they can have a little bit more of a relaxed approach to the game rather than thinking, I have to score it, this is all on my shoulders, or I have to assist. I think McNeil brings confidence to the whole squad as a collective, and he's so valuable to us.
McNeil brings service to all three of them. I think that's what I think you mentioned earlier on about how good a crosser he is. He's most technically gifted player in the team, and I think he provides quality passes into those players you just mentioned. And the more service they get, the more chance they've got to put them on away, and that brings more confidence.
Yeah, with two strikers like Beto and Calvert-Lewin, a player like him is really needed. Because we've said it so many times last season. We have, when Calvert-Lewin was injured, we were saying, we're getting that, with the services going into the box through McNeil, but there's no one to put them away. So hopefully in the next few games, they will start to link up a bit more together. Calvert-Lewin and Beto with Garner and McNeil, if he's going to persist with those two on the wing. That's what we need to see a little bit more of them gelling together. Obviously, the build-up for the third goal is magnificent. So we saw a little glimpse of it on Saturday, but just hopefully next weekend against Luton, we'll see more of that.
How happy are we for Calvert-Lewin though as well? Because he's been so hard done by over the last couple of years with those injuries, and just to see him get on the score sheet, I think it'll do the world of good for his confidence. And, as you said there, it'll be nice to see him link up with Beto maybe against Luton, a weaker opposition. Going two up top maybe will be, the approach to get at them. So just to see him on the score sheet was so positive.
Yeah, I think we're all thrilled for Calvert-Lewin because he's just, like you say, I think also he's not always been known for those kind of finishes. I thought that was a really cool finish from him. I was happy to see that side of his play as well. Like,
it was a bit like a goal that the goals he used to score against the goals he used to score under Ancelotti. Yeah. I remember he got one away at West Ham a little bit like that. He'd sort of drill them into the keeper, and he low and hard underneath the goalkeeper. He does like a finish like that, and that shows the quality of him, that he can put them. I think we think of him a lot as someone who's good in the air and good at holding it up, but he's a smart player when he's put one-on-one with the goalkeeper. So I was just made up with that goal. It was well deserved. It sealed the game, and for me, that was definitely the moment of this season so far when he put that third one away on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, I like I say, I wasn't there to be in the moment. I was away with the fairies somewhere, but to watch it back and see the away fans as well. Those away fans, you were one of them, obviously. Ollie, God, you deserve that, don't you?
Some limbs there. After travelling up and down the country last season and then doing all the away games at the start of this season, we just deserve it. I think every Evertonian has just felt a little bit of relief when that third goal went in, and the celebrations were there to match it.
Yeah, it was much deserved for the fans. You've been through the mill. Well, not just away fans, home fans as well.
Oh yeah, no, I agree.
And it's painful, but about time. Yeah, as far as that goes, I don't think there was any particularly bad performances from the team. That was great. I think one I was really pleased for, and obviously he got on the score sheet himself, was Tarkowski. I think he was obviously one of the best players all of last season. And I felt like he hasn't really been at that level so far this year. And I felt like on Saturday I was seeing the Tarkowski of last year, really leading that defence and, making crucial tackles, blocks. He was really throwing his weight around there and, leading by example.
Yeah, he did better with Brentford next to him as well. Them two sort of on Saturday, we saw more of, them two beginning to gel together as a centre-back pairing, which I was really happy with.
Yeah, we're going to need that because they're easily the two best centre-backs we've got. Obviously, Michael Keane's not really been at it, and I'm not sure who else we've got. There's Ben Godfrey, and again, he's not up to the task, I don't think. So, fingers crossed that we can hold that partnership for a while, certainly till January, if we can maybe get someone in. But that's going to be crucial, and regardless of that, defensive consistency is crucial to, really getting momentum going.
Being a goal from a corner as well, that was a surprise.
That was great, I know, yeah.
That was amazing. I was made up with that because there was a lot of talk. There was a lot of talk in the build up about who's the best set piece taker, and seeing them put a direct corner into the box and a header straight into the goal. That made me feel a bit better, a bit more optimistic about scoring goals from corners. But do you know what? I think it was an all-round good performance in the way that there were all three are different goals as well. Decore's, he gets in there. It's sort of the goals that he likes to score, those late darts into the box. He gets
balls, knockdowns.
Yeah, and I think if we're going to talk about Decore, he really needs to be singled out for some praise because, on the ball, he's not the best player at the club. He's not the best passer at the club. He's not the fastest, but he always pops up with these important goals. And that can't be underestimated. I think you can be the greatest footballer in the world, but that is how you'll cement yourself with our supporters as a great player, because he's had, we were unlucky not to get anything at Sheffield United, but he popped up with the first one on Saturday. And I think if you're going into any game now, if you're going to put your money on first goal scorer, you're always going to go with Decore for me because he just seems to pop up with these important goals. And he got unlucky with the second one as well. It hit the bar pretty much after the first. So, no, I think he's one of them. I really want to single out for some praise because he was fantastic.
He runs his socks off as well. He's always there. He runs his socks off. A bit like McNeil, he's always willing to run for 90 minutes. And as you said there, he always pops up with an important goal. Unlucky not to score twice. It was the second shot where it hit the bar. It was almost identical to the first one, wasn't it? And he was really unlucky not to see that go in.
Yeah, I would say pound for pound, he's probably the best contributor so far of Sean Dyche. Like, obviously the biggest moment at the end of last year, but I think his work rate and everything he's contributed over this last sort of 9 months that Dyche has been here, he's probably contributed the most out of anybody.
Well, he said this manager brings the best out of me, and I'm playing the best football of my career, and you can't disagree with that because he's quickly becoming a fan favourite. It's sort of a bit of a cliche that people go, with Evertonians, the effort means the most and stuff like that. You don't have to be the greatest player in the world, but as long as you're there and thereabouts and you always give your best for the team, they will take to you. And I think he is definitely, without a doubt, at the moment, the one player who epitomises that because, there's been complaints about him. There's been, he's been out of the team. He's been dropped out. He's come back in. He plays under different managers. But this season and last season as well, just his ability to pick up goals when we need them, take the ball and keep running for 90 minutes, that is really what you want in an Everton player. And he definitely, I think, if he carries on this way, he's going to end up with an award at the end of the season for player's player or something like that. Because to me, I think, maybe not in terms of consistency, because I think in the Arsenal game he was off his game a bit. But if there's one underrated player that I want to pick out so far this season, it's got to be Abdoulaye Doucouré.
No one has argued with that.
You can't argue with that.
It was a really well-rounded performance. Like I say, the team, like every single one of them played the part there, I think, and that's what you want to see.
Yeah.
It was one of them, yeah. As you said before, there was no bad performances there. I think the only bad performance that you could maybe argue is Jordan Pickford because he doesn't save the Matthias Jensen shot. But then again, he's had nothing to do all day, and that's testament to the defence there. Jordan Pickford certainly didn't have a bad game, but at the end of the game, I did notice he did go straight down the tunnel. He didn't seem best pleased with himself. And again, that's just the measure of the man there. He was disappointed that conceded. He was unfortunate to concede as well. He did get a hand to it. So again, just to reiterate that, there was no bad performances. It was just a fantastic all-round day, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a performance from Ashley Young as well. To get booked a minute into the match, play 89 minutes on a yellow card, and, it wasn't there all the time, wasn't doing the greatest things all the time, but when the ball went to him and we needed him to either get rid of it, pick out a pass or do something, just such a strong all-round performance from Ashley Young, and he really showed his experience there because in a game like that where you're 3-1 up, away from home, trying to get your first 3 points of the season, that's what you need. You need a stable player who's going to boot it down the pitch when we need to, who's going to keep hold of possession, not going to do anything stupid with it, not going to give it away. He was another one who I think had his best game for us on Saturday, which you could probably say for all of them, to be honest. But really, just an all-around great performance. And I think now, happily, I'd take this momentum into the Luton game because there's another 3 points that we're definitely capable of getting there. So, a good time to get it, really. Obviously, Villa in the Cup coming up. So, I think it's given the whole fan base a little bit more optimism going into those two games because we definitely need a cup run. But it's going to be, I think, when we look back on the season as a whole, it's going to be one of those more important ones, definitely, because when you're competing at the wrong end of the table like we have the last few seasons, they're points that priceless when it gets to 35 to 36 games. They're the ones that keep you up. Same as with Brighton last season.
Indeed.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. On that note, we'll leave it at that. It was a day to save it at long last for us, but Brentford 1, Everton 3. Everyone who's tuned in and leave us your comments, your opinions on that game. Give us a like and subscribe for more content. Until next time, guys, thanks for tuning in on the Toffee Blues.